Tomato and Basil Cake. This is one of the bigger surprises I've had while baking. We're so used to using tomatoes in savory applications that we forget that it's technically a fruit and works great in desserts. The recipe I'll be using today is from a website called cakejoy.com, and I'll be providing a link in the description. I stumbled across this recipe because I have a ton of basil in my garden and I was looking for a way to incorporate it into one of my bakes. I wasn't anticipating using tomato in a cake, but if you think about it, it makes sense that tomato and basil will be paired together. They are, after all, the reigning world champion of food combinations. Margarita pizza, caprese salad, but what about in a sweet cake? We'll find out in a little bit after I go through this recipe step by step, and I'm going to pair it with my go-to style for pairing with tomatoes, Vienna Lager, on this episode of Bacon and Brew. Alright, let's take a look at this recipe. If you're deep in your Tomato Girl summer era, I guess you got me there, or simply staring down a garden full of ripe tomatoes, may I suggest baking a homemade tomato cake with basil frosting. It's unexpected, summery, and truly delicious. Bonus points if you bake it while wearing a tomato print house dress. Okay, I won't be getting the bonus points today, but I love this idea, so let's get it started. We're going to need about 1 cup of pureed tomato. The tomatoes in my garden aren't as plentiful as my basil, but I think I could manage a cup. I suggest 2 large tomatoes, but these are, well, let's just say I'm not a gardener. I'm going to first cut an X at the bottom of each tomato and blanch them in boiling water for about 30 seconds. This is going to help loosen the skin, and after a quick ice water bath, they should peel right off. Although the recipe doesn't mention it, I imagine you could use canned tomato, but fresh ingredients seem to be a clear theme here. The recipe does mention coring the tomatoes, but these don't have much of a core to speak of, so I'm just going to puree them in my food processor and then strain out the seeds. And it looks like after all that, I just barely made it to a cup. Before I make my cake batter, I'll prepare 2 8-inch cake pans. I'll grease them with butter and line the bottom with parchment paper. To cut out the parchment to fit, I'll fold the paper diagonally and fold it again, making a progressively thinner triangle. Then just cut to about the radius of the pan. Then after unfolding, you should end up with a shape that approximates a circle. Now let's measure out our dry ingredients. I'll be using 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. I'll whisk these to combine and set it aside while I work on my wet ingredients. In my mixer, I'll cream together 1 stick of butter along with 1 cup of sugar until it's light and fluffy. Then I'll add 3 eggs, mixing until each one is fully incorporated before adding the next. Then add 1 cup of oil and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. We'll add our tomato and then 1/4 cup of Greek yogurt. I'll continue mixing until the mixture is fully homogeneous before I start to add my dry ingredients. I'm turning my mixer down to low at this point and adding just a little at a time to be careful not to overmix. As soon as everything's incorporated and I no longer have any dry lumps, I'll remove from my mixer and divide between the 2 cake pans. You could weigh the cake pans to ensure you get exactly the right amount of batter in each, but I'm just going to eyeball it. I'll spread these out so they look nice and even, and I'll go into a 350-degree oven for approximately 28 minutes. To check if it's done, you could use a toothpick to make sure it comes out clean, but I've had many dry cakes that way. So I'm going to look for an internal temperature of around 200 degrees. You don't have to refer to this as a meat thermometer either, it's just a thermometer. It measures temperature just like any other kind of thermometer. It turns out the 28-minute target was right on. I'll let these cool in the pan for about 10 minutes before turning them out onto a cooling rack. We then need to let these cool completely before we even think about adding the icing. Once the cakes are cooled, I'll start heating up 1.5 cups of heavy cream for the icing. Then this is where the basil comes in. The recipe calls for 2 to 3 stems, and I'm probably using more than that, but I'm not really worried about too much basil flavor. I'll add the basil to the cream and bring it to a boil. As soon as it reaches the boil, I'll turn off the heat and let it steep as the mixture cools. In my mixer, I'll cream 2 sticks of butter and slowly add 3 cups of confectioner sugar. I'll also add a splash of vanilla extract and a pinch of salt. Then I'll add my cooled basil cream, after straining out the basil, of course. This is looking very liquidy, so I'm going to switch to my whisk attachment to see if I could whip a little more air into this. And now we have a thick frosting that has an amazing scent of fresh basil. But I feel like at this point the mixture is still a little too warm and thin to add directly to the cake, so I'm going to put it into a piping bag and refrigerate for another hour. Now that everything is cool, it's time to assemble. I'll slice the dome off the bottom cake so the top could sit flat. Then pipe on an even layer of the basil cream. You don't need to use a piping bag, but I found it's the best way to ensure it's an even layer. I'll spread this out, and then on goes the top cake. And then another layer of the basil frosting, spreading that out so it's even. For the sides, I really like the semi-naked cake look. You just put a little icing on the sides, and basically scrape everything off. You'll end up leaving just a little residual behind, revealing some exposed cake underneath. I'll smooth out the top to the best of my abilities, and clean up any excess. Then I'll garnish with some cherry tomatoes, these are not homegrown, and 1 thing of basil. And there you have it, double layer tomato cake with basil icing. I'll pair this with a Vienna style lager from Devil's Backbone. This cake came out fantastic, and I honestly didn't know what to expect coming into this. I think the reason why we associate tomatoes with savory food so much is because it's very high in glutamic acid, so it has a lot of umami flavor, and I was worried how that would play out in the cake. But it turns out that it has this familiarity to it, but not in a way that reminds me of pizza, for instance. It seems to totally fit along with the basil. That basil really comes through in the frosting as well. Just that act of steeping the basil leaves in the heavy cream extracted a lot of aroma. And that really pairs great with the flavor of the tomato in the cake. It's no wonder why tomato and basil are such a great combination. The umami and acidity of tomatoes is what consistently makes tomato and Vienna Lager a great pairing. Vienna is very malty with a toasty, bready character. It's sort of my ultimate pizza beer. So I was curious how it would relate to this cake, and it really does go great together. Vienna Lager obviously originated in Vienna, Austria, but as the style started to decline in Europe, Austrian immigrants brought their brewing practices with them to Mexico, where the style became extremely popular and where some of the best examples of Vienna Lager are brewed today. Devil's Backbone brews a fantastic Vienna Lager, and it is their flagship beer. It's really clean, got a toasty malt flavor, and a little bit of a noble hop aroma, which pairs really well with the basil in that frosting. One of the things I love about this recipe is the emphasis on fresh ingredients. I use the term garden to describe my plants outside, but really all I have is tomatoes and basil. So you saw my entire garden. I got that combination for making pizza, so I wasn't expecting to use it in the cake, but the fact that I got to use them both and get that really fresh flavor in the cake, I think was wonderful. Thank you for watching. Give this cake a try at home. This flavor combination really has to be tried to be believed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and join me next time when I take another one of my favorite beers and try to bake the perfect pairing.